Hello, ladies and germs. Welcome back to another episode of a Neeks Sports preview, review, video. As you can tell, I've been away for a few weeks, MIA. I've been very busy, so it's good to be back. And here and out for hopefully till the end of the season. You'll be seeing and hearing from my ugly mug and my wacky crazy predictions. We're just gonna jump straight into the previous game week 25 that just played. Not really gonna recap what happened previously because I'm sure Neeks has kept you updated. But the weekend results slash midweek as well, because we had a Monday night football game and a double game week on Wednesday. So we start off with the Tottenham Hotspurs versus Newcastle, where Spurs won 1-0. Another eked result by Tottenham Hotspurs. But as we will find out later on, this is a great result for Tottenham, picking up 3 points and staying with the leading pack, just staying with the leading pack. And some are saying that they're in with a shout of the title. I mean, they're not a million miles off. They're not far off. The season's very funny. At one point, when they lost to Man United, everyone was like, "Oh, they're drawn into the top 4 race. They could potentially drop out of the top 4. Then the next game where they win, and I think it was Man City lost and Liverpool drew, everyone's like, "Oh, they're back in the title race." It's like one extreme to the next. One week is they're not in the title race, they're in a fight for top 4. You got the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal and Man United all chasing them, hunting them down, and then in the next week they're forgetting about the chasing back behind them and saying they're in the title race. I mean, me personally, how I feel, their season is just here. This is it. They're third, and they're gonna finish third. They're gonna finish just behind Man City, and Liverpool, and they're gonna be ahead of the other 3: Chelsea, Man United, and Arsenal. But people bouncing back between top 4 and title race, I mean, it's ridiculous. Just pick one and stick with it for the rest of the season. But winning 1-0, eking out results without Harry Kane, even when they did have him, eking out results. But then we had Brighton versus Watford, a 0-0 ball draw there. Not much to talk about. I mean, are either going to go down? No. I mean, there are worse teams out there. And there are some teams that are picking up some form, and there's some teams that are in miserable form but don't seem like they're going to get out of it. And then we had Burnley versus Southampton. That was another draw, not 0-0 but 1-1. Southampton's a team that they picked up some decent results over the last few game weeks. Picked up some decent results, and off the top of my head, I don't think they're in the relegation zone at the moment. But I wouldn't rule them out. Like I said, they were one of my 3 teams to go down, so I can't rule them out because I'm going to stick with that prediction till the end of the season, or at least until it's mathematically impossible. I can't see them playing or getting any better than what they're doing right now. I think this is the best that they've got to offer, and only in the long run will we see if it's enough, if this is their best is enough to keep them up. We also had Chelsea, who have had some miserable results of recent. I mean, last week they got absolutely spanked last week. And they've come out here and they've dished out a spanking. They've beaten Huddersfield 5-0 at the Bridge. I think Hazard scored 2. New striker signing Higuain scored 2. But it's not nothing for Chelsea fans to get excited about or write home about, because it's literally Huddersfield. They are rock bottom of the Premier League. They're playing poor football. They have been all season. They've been abysmal. They still are abysmal. And you'd expect Chelsea to roll them over. You generally would. I mean, it's only Huddersfield and you're at home. You're expected to pick up 3 points there. But what I will say is Higuain looks like a good addition. Like, he's an upgrade to Morata. Like he's hold up plays better than Morata. His finishing is better than Morata. He's more clinical. He just looks more lively in front of goal than Morata. And hopefully they have found a striker that can work for them and can get Hazard moving again to his best. Because Hazard needs a striker that he can bounce off of to play at his optimal. Hazard leading the line is not an optimal Hazard. You're not going to get the best out of Hazard leading the front line, playing that striker. So hopefully this signing will keep Chelsea in with a shout to finish in top 4 right to the very end. And maybe even nab 4th place ahead of Arsenal and Manchester United. And this is what they needed. They needed a striker if they were to finish top 4. If they didn't sign Higuain and it was Morata and Giroud that they were going in for the rest of the season, I would have written them off and said nope, they're not getting top 4. But now they stand a genuine chance with Higuain. And then we have Crystal Palace at home to Fulham. Crystal Palace picking up a 2-0 victory against Fulham, and I think Crystal Palace are safe. I genuinely think they're safe. I think they've done enough to stay alive, to stay afloat. I think they've done enough to prove to us to say that they're a good enough team to beat the drop, to stay in the Premier League. But Fulham are just not convincing me. And I said many weeks ago at the start of the season, I think it was a game against Newcastle in the first half of the season. If they don't win that game, if they fail to win it, it's due. That's it. And then a couple weeks later, manager sacked, and here we are. They're not bottom. They're 19th, one above Huddersfield, but it's Huddersfield, and I just don't see it getting better for Fulham. We got 13 game weeks left of the season, and I just don't see them getting out of the relegation zone. We also had Everton at home to Wolves, and Wolves have absolutely annihilated Everton. 3-1 away victory for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they were absolutely masterful. I mean, they have been all season, beating teams like Everton, coming up trumps against teams like Man City, Man United, picking up 0-0s and 1-1 draws there. I mean, what can you say? They've had an absolute stellar season. I think personally, unless either Liverpool or Manchester City went the whole season unbeaten, which they didn't, the manager deserves manager of the year. He genuinely does. The season they have just come up from the Championship. This is their first season back in the Prem from the Championship, and they are literally going to finish behind the Big Six. So they're going to finish 7th. There's no two ways about it. They're going to finish 7th. Everyone was talking about your Evertons and your West Hams that are going to, finish the 7th and 8th and maybe challenge for Europa League places and this, that. And it's not. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've been absolutely magnificent. They've played well above their expectation, well above their level. And I can't even say well above their level. This might just be their level, but they've definitely performed well above expectation. And I think that they need some accolades come the end of the season, because whether it be players and team of the year, well, I don't know, but some sort of accolades, some recognition, some player performances have been majestic. People like Jota, Doherty, Jimenez, Ruben Neves has been magnificent as well. But yeah, no, just the whole team effort has been absolutely masterful. But Everton, on the other hand, they are defensively shambolic. They're right up there with Arsenal kind of defending. I mean, man, it's bad. Now I know they've got their problems. They had Digne, who was suspended, or did he get sent off in that game? No, he was suspended. He got sent off the game before, I believe. Baines with his injuries, but even with them, they're defensively horrific. I mean, and they're not even nothing to write home about attacking wise. It's literally Richarlison or bust. Like, it is genuinely just a struggle for them. I mean, I just genuinely don't know what to say, man. Everton are just not a good team anymore. They're not a good team since the sale of Lukaku. It's been a backwards progression for Everton. They've just gone backwards, and I can't see them going forwards anytime soon. I mean, it doesn't look good. We had Cardiff at home to Bournemouth. We actually beat Bournemouth 2-0, but Bournemouth season's been up and down. They started the first 5 games not so great, and then after that they went on like a very good run of form, and everyone was like, "Oh, Bournemouth are gonna finish 7th. They're ahead of Man United at the moment. Everything's going well. Wilson's in form. Him and Josh King are linking up well. You've got Brooks and what's the other midfielder's name? Brooks, not Stanislas, the other one. Can't quite remember his name right now. And everything was going well for them. And then they hit a patch where they had like a run of gameplay. It was like Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, boom, 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 back to back, and literally lost them all. And form hasn't picked up since then. I mean, they just don't look threatening anymore. And I have to say, I know they've got their injury problems at the moment. Wilson's out for a little while, or they've got some key players out for a little while. Brooks is out for a little while as well, 3-4 weeks. So they've got their injuries now, and they're like the main core players, and without them, they're not the same. But they've really halted of late. But it's not the end of the world. They're a mid-table team. They're probably going to finish mid-table. It's a job well done in their eyes for the season. I mean, they're not in any threatening position of going down or anything. But it's just to say their form has dipped. Maybe they're like, our season's done. Maybe they've given up caring. I don't know. I mean, I can't even say that. There's so much football left to play. With like 13 games left. I mean, that mentality wouldn't set into at least there's like 5 game weeks left, surely. But they're in a bit of a miserable rut at the moment. And then we had Leicester, who were at home to Man United. Man United picked up a 1-0 victory away on their travels. They've slowed a bit from Solskjaer's opening like 6-7 games. They've definitely slowed a bit. Their pace have slowed. But I think from what I've seen from Man United, from what I've seen thus far, I think that Solskjaer's done a good job. I think that potentially he could be the man for the job. Come the summer, they may not have to recruit a permanent manager. I know he's interim, but he could potentially be the permanent manager. And I say this because he's got them playing football the way the fans know and the way the fans love. And I know he's brought back some old, I wouldn't say Man United tradition, but some Alex Ferguson traditions. The way Alex Ferguson used to manage and do things in and around the club and the dressing rooms. I know Solskjaer has brought that to the team. And I think the fans love this, and I think the players love it, and they love the style of football that they're playing. And I think that with the right signings, now I know Mourinho struggled to get the so-called defenders in that he wanted, and he wasn't backed by the board. Now I don't know if he wasn't backed by the board because they wanted him out, but did they really? Because they gave him a new contract in January, but didn't back him in the summer. So what happened? I mean, he wanted ex-defenders, and from what I understand and what I was told from some certain Man United fans is that the board believed that the defenders that they have were just as good, or maybe just a slightly bit worse, not just as good as defenders that Mourinho was targeting. So they're like, you don't need to spend 60, 70, 80 million on defenders when you've got defenders here that are just as good and can do the job. And Mourinho would probably be like, no, they can't, you're not backing me, what is going on here? And it was just downhill spiral from there. And I don't think any manager can do a job where Man United are expected to challenge for honours and titles against the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City with a defence like that. I think it does need strengthening. But if Solskjaer is allowed to strengthen that team, I mean, they didn't sign anyone in January. Is that a sign that maybe he's not staying? Don't bring in players that you want if you're not going to be here in the long run. I don't know, but if he was to be backed, and he was to be backed in the summer transfer window, he could do a job. I think he could. I think he's got the right attacking players, maybe 1 or 2 more in attacking, maybe like on the right wing, and then some defenders. Man United could be a force to be reckoned with again. I mean, David De Gea looks like he's he's back to his best. He's found his mojo again. Players are signing contracts again, so things are looking much better for Manchester United. But is it all a little too late? Is top 4 out of their reach? We can only wait and see. But like I said, from there, he's opening 6-7 games. They've slowed just a tad bit. But it's expected. You can't keep that high intensity all season. Games and run of forms do go against you from time to time. We also had Manchester City, who were at home, a big game against Arsenal. Aguero hat-trick in a 3-1 victory. Koscielny scoring when Arsenal were 1-0 down, so equalising the game 1-1. And then Aguero, I think he scored on a stroke at half time, and then his hat-trick in the second half, sealing the, I'm just going to call it a rout. Arsenal were, not at the races. It was all too easy for Manchester City, and the 3-1 victory at the time, I can't remember how it played. They played before Liverpool. It brought them 3 points closer to Liverpool, and then we had Liverpool play against West Ham away from home, which ended in a 1-1 draw. And what can I say? 2 draws in a row for Liverpool. They have slowed a tad bit. And it's not even a case where they've got like a massive injury list. It's 1 or 2 in defensive areas. So they've got Trent out, who's missed the last 3 or 4 games. I think they now got Matip out injured, and I think Gomez. I think so. They got 1 or 2 injuries. I mean, and Nuno was suspended for a game when he got sent off. So they've had their 1 or 2 issues in defense. But that's not where the problem is lying at the moment. It's actually the front men. They're not scoring. Salah hasn't scored in a couple of games now. And it's just going missing. I mean, I don't know if they're feeling the nerves. Are they starting to shake? I mean, I don't know. What is actually happening? I mean, and then because Manchester City are playing in the cup final against Chelsea, they had a double game week this week, which they played on Wednesday. And if they had won that game, they go top of the Premier League. And then that means now on the weekend, let me just double check. On the weekend, no, they don't. I thought they were going to play before Liverpool, and that means Liverpool could be even further behind, albeit 2 games in hand. But you don't want that kind of pressure. But Liverpool will be playing their game, knowing that they're now second in the table. If Manchester City win that Wednesday game. Kevin De Bruyne is back now. He's back from injury. He's been playing a lot of minutes recently. He's been playing games. They got Bernardo Silva, they got Mahrez, got Sterling, Sane, Aguero, Jesus. So the plays are all there at their disposal. Gundogan, Fernandinho, all there at their disposal. They're not tired. Manchester City are not tired. It's a different situation that they were in last season. They were top of the table. Week after week, it was like 10 points, and it was 12 up to 15, up to 18. The gap was, they were just playing with, no burden, no nerves on their shoulders, nothing to worry about. It's like we can play the carefree, free-flowing football that we want, knowing that if we draw or we lose, it doesn't really make a difference. The title's ours anyway. We're 15 points clear. What's one little draw here or loss here gonna do? Nothing. But now they're playing with added pressure, because a draw or loss could mean that if we draw or lose and we go 7, 8 or 9 points behind Liverpool, that's it, the title's gone. And that kind of nerves can really get to play. They're in a different situation now. Players like Raheem Sterling, Sane, them young players, they're in the position that they are now that they weren't in last season. Maybe they don't know how to handle this pressure, because Sterling started the season on fire. People were talking about, player of the year, hands down. Even though the season went done, player of the year, he's the best player in the Premier League, this, that and another. And then ever since that week where Liverpool took the lead in the table, and then Liverpool went, was it 2 or 4 points clear? Sterling ain't been the same. He hasn't been producing that same high level of football that he was back at the beginning of the season. I don't know, is he struggling to handle the pressure as well of, playing from second, playing catch up? That's what they're doing, they're playing catch up. But now that they're top of the table, we'll see. Maybe things can change. And Liverpool are also in a position that they weren't in last year, whereas they were playing catch up, and it's like, balls to the walls, we'll throw everything out there and we will try to grab the win. We'll get the wins. Not that they were fighting for the title just for top 4, but it was totally different football. They were playing different mentality. But now that they're leading, it's like, we need to stick with it. We need to get these wins. And it's so much pressure for both teams, and different kinds of pressure. One's leading where they don't normally lead, and the other's playing catch up where they don't normally play catch up. So I don't know, but we're seeing back-to-back draws from Liverpool, and then the 2 games where Man City messed up, Liverpool failed to capitalise. So they lost to Newcastle, and Liverpool went on. It's knowing that they lost. If they had won, you put down the pendulum swings your way. You put down a statement. This title is ours, and they failed to do that. They lost at home at the Etihad Stadium to Newcastle after being 1-0 up, and you lose to Newcastle. No, man, that's unacceptable. Liverpool should have punished them. They should have punished them, and they failed to do it. And it could come back to bite them, because they've got tough games like against Man United, for example. I mean, it could come back to bite them. I don't know. I mean, he's poor. But less on that. And let's just quickly run through the rest of the results that we had on this double game week. So we had, like I said, City beat Arsenal 3-1. We had West Ham drawing with Liverpool 1-1. And Liverpool's goal, let's just say, they were gifted that goal. Miles offside. Linesman in a completely wrong position. The guy's ahead of the play. I don't even know if he's even looking in the right direction. He's ahead of the play. Milner's like 2 Mount Everest peaks of a distance offside. I mean, even the referee could call that decision. He doesn't even need his linesman for that. Referee could call that decision. But miles offside. And they opened the scoring through that. Milner sets up Mane. Mane scores the opener, and then West Ham equalise 1-1. Game ends. But Liverpool shouldn't have gotten that goal. Maybe they should have lost the game. Who knows? But yeah, they're not at their best. And the final game, which was on Wednesday, so Liverpool's game was Monday Night Football, nothing on Tuesday. Wednesday, Everton at home to Man City, and they lost that 2-0. And now Manchester City lead the Premier Division with Liverpool in second and Spurs in third place. And it's all very tight between the 3 teams. I think it's like 5 points in it from first to third or something like that. Only like 5 points in it. But Man City have played an extra game than everybody else. And then on the weekend, I'll talk about it on the next video when we do the preview for the next week. But they're playing Chelsea, and then the week after that they've got no game week. So if they win that, they stay top. But then it's backward to Liverpool to win their game if Manchester are not playing, when they're playing in the Carabao Cup final. That's it from me. Sorry that for the first video back it's a bit lengthy, but bit to talk about. Next video and the next videos here on in should be a lot shorter, a lot more on point. But let me know what you think. Are Liverpool and Manchester City struggling with the pressure at the moment? Are they struggling to cope with leading and chasing and being in different I don't know, situations than what they're not used to? I don't know, because they're not winning games that they're supposed to win, basically. And I want to know why. Why is this happening?